So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Finn Donnelly, the distinguished Member of Parliament, and as well as the founder and executive director of Rivershed Society.
Thank you very much, Damien, and it really is a pleasure to be here to follow Damien. I know the good work that Damien's been doing, documenting river issues, river-related issues, and getting that out to the broader public, and really encouraging and engaging the public in these very important issues. I first got my start back in the early 90s. In terms of working on environmental issues, really focused on salmon habitat. I started swimming across the ocean, Georgia Strait. In 1990, I did my first swim across Georgia Strait, and every summer I came back, did that to try and raise more awareness about the home of the salmon. 1994, swam across Juan de Fuca Strait. And then in 1995, I did a swim that changed my life. I swam the length of the Fraser River, a 1,400 kilometer swim. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And I had done a number of years of working on the home of the salmon, and I thought, well, I want to do something to connect my community and also work on the birthplace of the salmon. And what better river than the Fraser River, the mighty Fraser, to focus on. And we certainly do not want what's happened on the East Coast to our Atlantic fishery to happen here on the West Coast to our Pacific fishery. So I wanted to make a statement, and that statement included swimming the length of the river. And I think it raised some awareness, it raised some dollars. It was also recognized by many people, including the First Nations. So much so in 1997, the Squamish Nation welcomed me to the family by bestowing a great honor, and that was giving me a First Nation name. They called me Ian Yoyos, which means blackfish or orca, strong swimmer in the animal world. And the meaning behind that is if the orca or the blackfish are plentiful, it's because they have food to feed on, the salmon. So I'm like the protector, the steward of the salmon, and that's a great responsibility, especially with the situation now that the salmon face, including hearing about the sockeye salmon and the collapse of the run. Over 90% of the sockeye salmon did not return to the Fraser system this past summer. This is catastrophic. This catastrophe has not just happened overnight, though. We've been knowing about these trends for a number of years. So there's action that's needed. There's action that's needed at the local level. There's action that's needed at municipal, at provincial, federal, and international levels. We need to have engagement from all levels of government, of community, people to take action on this important issue. I was elected to local council in 2002 in the city of Coquitlam. I've worked for 7 years on local issues, really cut my teeth working in Coquitlam. You would think, well, you know, a suburban community of Vancouver turning into really an urbanized area, what's that got to do with salmon? Well, communities like Coquitlam are on the front lines of the fishery. There are a number of watercourses that feed right into the Fraser, and they're under intense pressure from development. A huge urbanization wave is heading out across the lower mainland and out into the Fraser Valley, and this puts tremendous pressure on the fishery, the local salmon that move into those creeks and want to spawn and reproduce and keep the system going. Well, when you have the impacts that the urbanization has, that's adding yet another problem to what the salmon face. We have a number of issues. Climate change. Of course, we have the sea lice from salmon farming. We have now another threat of independent power projects. There are so many threats that it's no wonder that these salmon are able to survive. However, we do have signs that it is possible for the salmon to survive. But we need pressure, we need to support the Salmon Enhancement Program, we need to support the programs that are really there to make these, allow for our salmon to flourish. Just recently, as Damien mentioned, I was elected as Member of Parliament to New Westminster, Coquitlam, and Port Moody, and I'm excited about that. I was just sworn in on Wednesday, and let me tell you, it was quite an experience. But now I'm in the House of Commons. I was able to raise a question. I raised 2 questions in question period, and my second question was on the salmon inquiry. And just let me back up a step. During the campaign, my colleague, or I can say now my colleague Peter Julian, a Member of Parliament from Burnaby New West, had been calling, as many others have been calling, for a judicial inquiry into the collapse of the salmon. Well, just before the election, the federal government, Stephen Harper and the Conservatives, actually called for that inquiry, even though they've been in power for 3 years, and in opposition, they called for the government to do a salmon inquiry. No action until now, and Peter had been calling for it, I'd been calling for it, Alexander Morton and many others have been calling for and demanding that there be an inquiry. Well, we finally got it. Well, that's great, that's good news. However, it's going to take a number of months, 18 months, before we get the results of the inquiry. We can't wait for the 18 months. We need action. We need the government to take action now. We know what many of the issues are. Sure, we're going to have an inquiry, we're going to get to the bottom of it, and that's great. But that doesn't mean that there's a free pass to have complete inaction for a year and a half. My first the question that I now was able to ask the Minister of Fisheries was what action this government is going to take to make sure that we save our BC stocks and our BC salmon. So I am committed to ensuring that I continue to work on this issue. I am not going to let the government of the day watch and do nothing as we lose the important BC salmon. And I am very thankful to the organizers, Salmon Nation, that have put this benefit tonight together. I'm grateful that you have come out to support this event. I think we need to keep up the pressure, and we really need to work together to try to make a difference in terms of ensuring that these salmon survive. And I do not want to see the BC salmon go the way of the Atlantic cod. That will not happen on my watch, and I hope there's enough of us that are going to say that out there, and that we make sure that our BC salmon survive well into the future for our children and grandchildren to enjoy just as we have. Thank you very much.